Hello guys, thanks for joining in. Manish, I'll be captaining Holland, really? I'm really tempted to get him in as well, but can't really do it without a hit, so one plan for me is actually to save this game week to have two free transfers going into game week 37 to bring in Holland. Could be an option. Nixie, hello. Hello, Nixie. Thanks for joining in. Are you ready for game week 36? Captain and Buma, yeah, actually this will probably be my captain for game week 36, to be honest. It's currently on and Bumo and Alexander Isak, but I'll go change that right away. The Kevin De Bruyne will be my vice captain this game week. I'm nearly ready yet, waiting for team news on Savio and decision to be made if I go with templates Wisa or Kuna. I've been had a feeling on all week. The thing is that there are so many good options available up front at the moment. You have Chris Wood as well, and of course Marmouche is still a decent option, even though Holland is confirmed to be back. He might not start, so I think that Manish is taking a big risk in giving the armband to Holland. But of course, as you can see, Holland is actually the bookie's favorite ahead of game week 36, 61% chance of a goal against Southampton. So, of course, could be big differential going Holland captain for game week 36. And as mentioned, I'm really tempted to save a transfer and then sell Alexander Isak and maybe do something like Alexander Isak to Holland and Jared Bowen or SA to someone like Enciso, or just a 4.4 midfielder. FPL FOMO, I'm rolling a transfer this week as I could not decide on who to bring in. Thanks for joining in, by the way, and I'm close to save a transfer myself, but at the same time, I'm actually tempted to sell Mateta. The thing is that the one that I think is the best option for this game week is probably Chris Wood, and he is a really template pick, so not going to help my rank that much. Chris Wood, Mateta. I'm actually kind of tempted by Watkins as well. I actually saw over at X someone that wanted to sell Watkins. I think that he could be a nice differential in the run-in. Let's take a look at Aston Villa's fixtures in game week 36. They play against Bournemouth away, and then Aston Villa have Spurs at home. And this is really close to the Europa League final, so I think that Spurs probably will field a weaker team in game week 37. And in the last game of this season, in game week 38, Aston Villa, they have Man United at Old Trafford. So this is after the Europa League final. We know at this point that both Man United and Spurs will play in that final. I think that they possibly could field weaker teams this game week. Probably game week 37 as well, but yeah. Amrim said today that they will probably not rotate that much this game week, but they received a lot of criticism for fielding the team that they did in game week 35, so I think that he is probably destined to try to win in the Premier League as well. The thing is that if Amrim fields a really strong team in game week 36, and if someone picks up an injury or something happens, if they lose the final, if the players look really tired playing against Spurs in the Europa League final, he will receive even more criticism. So I think that at this point, with nothing to fight for in the league, I think that both Man United and Spurs probably should field weaker teams. What's your rank at the moment? I'm myself ranked at 25k. That's decent. Not sure if I should push for top 10k and risk it or play it safe to keep my rank. Ooh, at 25k, I think that's kind of a tough decision. I think it depends on your rank history, to be honest. So if 25k is your personal best, I think it's wise to just play a bit safe, because that's a really decent rank. Of course, sitting at 25k, you will not win this season. So if you want a new personal best, and if 25k is your new personal best, then I would probably play a bit safe. But of course, if you've been close to 25k in previous seasons, I would probably just go for it. Go for a captain differential and aim for top 10k. My rank at the moment is like 700k. I've had the most terrible season. This is actually my worst season ever. My personal best is pretty decent, and I have a decent rank history as well, 7 times inside the top 35k, but this season has not been the best, to say the least. So I just mentioned Haaland. He is the bookie's favorite in game week 36, 61%. Wood is second with 52, and Alexander Isak is third with 45%. Currently 195k. Best ever was 216, trying to end up sub 200, so it's close. Hopefully he'll make it FPL FOMO inside the top 200k. That would be nice. And hopefully next season will be a great season for both of us. I had the most terrible start to this season. I talked about it a couple of times before, for those of you who have been on these live streams earlier, but hopefully the 25-26 season will be different, and that I'll get a decent start as well. So I think that around game week 9-10 I was actually rank 5 million. So I had to take some risks. Some of them did not pay off. So I'm actually been struggling all season, to be honest, but really enjoyed making content. I think that every game week, before every game week, I actually managed to put out a team selection video. Most game weeks I've had Q&As the night before the deadline, and I think that I had like 15 to 20 deadline streams as well. So decent season when we consider content, but not the best season rank wise. I was 66k after game week 3. Yeah, that's decent. Really, really good. Nice start. I think that this season I ended up being 157 in the world. I didn't have a great start. I wildcarded in game week 3 that season, but of course did reasonably well after the wildcard. I think for my team, for the next game week, Mbumo is the standout captain option. Great fixture. We know that he is nailed on set pieces, including penalties. So Mbumo is a really, really good option. I'm tempted to sell Mateta. They will play a really, really important game on the 17th of May, FA Cup final. The thing is that Mateta, he hasn't really looked that great recently. SA is probably on penalties for Crystal Palace as well. Scored the last penalty for Crystal Palace. Don't see any reason for Glasner to take penalties away from SA at this point. So there are really good arguments for selling Mateta this game week. One of the problems with selling Mateta is that there are, as mentioned, really good options available at the moment. You have Cunha, like Watkins as well, and the obvious Visa and Chris Wood. I really like the fixtures this game week. Looking at the fixtures for tomorrow and Sunday, there are actually 4 games at the same time on Saturday, and we have Newcastle Chelsea early game on Sunday, and we have 3 games at the same time before the game week is rounded up by Liverpool against Arsenal. At the moment, I'm actually benching both of my Arsenal players. Starting Areola in goal against Man United players. I know that probably at your rank 195k, I think that most players, At least they don't have both, so I think you're right. It's probably a differential having both Mo Salah and Cole Palmer at this point. I think I'll be getting Watkins in 37 and Evan Nilsson in 30. Yeah, so one of my other options instead of saving a transfer and doing a double transfer in game week 37 is actually to do Mateta to Wood this game week and sell Wood to Watkins next game week and then take a big punt. Probably something like the lap in game week 38. So just use my transfer on changing that position. I think that there's wise to try to avoid taking hits at this stage. I have a really solid bench, especially this game week with double Arsenal defense in Saliba, Raya, Rodgers as well, and Trippier, yellow flag Trippier. A lot of funds on my bench, to be honest. Two of the most expensive defenders, Raya and Rodgers as well. So I don't need to make a transfer. The thing that's bothering me is that I really like Nottingham Forest's fixtures for this game week playing at home against Leicester. I know Nottingham Forest, they haven't been in their best form recently, but I think that there will be goals in this fixture. So Mateta to Wood this game week. Chris Wood to Watkins in game week 37. Let's have a look at the fixtures. That Friday fixture before the Europa League final, Aston Villa, Friday night at home against Spurs. Really tempted to get Watkins for that one. In game week 38, Evan Nilsson probably. I think that's a really good option playing at home against Leicester. So I really like your idea, FPL FOMO, and I might actually be doing something similar. Mateta to Chris Wood. Thing is that Chris Wood is close to 30%. Don't really like so many own Chris Wood. I need some differentials in my team. It's like if I bring in Chris Wood, it kind of feels like I can't captain Mbumo because I need to be a bit different at this stage with a rank of close to 700k. Just notice that in the graphics there's something wrong on the most transferred in section. It's obviously not Wissa twice, it's Wissa, and the third on the list is Mbumo. So Wissa is above 300k transfers in, while Mbumo is really close to it. Saka is the most transferred out player, Mateta second most transferred out. Mo Salah, this season's MVP, he is actually one of the most sold players ahead of game week 36. Chris Wood is in a lot of dead teams. Yeah, you might be right, because he was really popular, of course, before Christmas and around Christmas. So You're probably right because he was injured and didn't play, but his ownership didn't really go that much down, I think. So Chris Wood. 7.1. Not that his price matters at this point, to be honest, but Mateta to Chris Wood. Probably still Captain Mbumo, even though I bring in Wood. The thing is that I actually like the lap as well. This game week, I like Ipswich fixtures. I know that. Are they good enough? That's the problem. So in game week 36, Ipswich, they play at home against Brentford. In game week 37, they play Leicester. And game week 38, they have West Ham at home. So decent fixtures for Ipswich. The lap probably on penalties as well. If I find out that Marmoush is benched tomorrow, I might get Wood in just for one game. Yeah. Definitely, if we get early team news that Marmoush is benched, I will probably sell him as well. So Mateta to Wood. Wait for early team news, and if we get confirmed news that Marmoush is on the bench, then I would probably do something like, let's see how much I can spend. What's up, lad? I dare you to Captain Wood. Of course, he is a really good option this game week. Probably the best fixture, but haven't really considered Chris Wood because he's actually not in my team. This is just a transfer page, and I just sold Mateta to bring in Wood, but I haven't really confirmed the transfer. But if I sell Mateta to bring in Chris Wood, I will have, let's see, 3.1 million in the bank. If Marmoush is benched, I can easily sell Marmoush and bring in, let's see, 10.5. Watkins could be an option for a -4. I kind of like this. I just mentioned 5 minutes ago that preferably I would avoid a hit, but I thought this is your team. Yeah. This is basically my team, but instead of Wood and Watkins, I have Mateta and Marmoush. My captain is currently Mbumo. I really think that he is a good option. Let's have a quick look. His stats. Mbumo. There we go. So one of the reasons why I'm really tempted to captain Mbumo, of course, he is a midfielder. He will get 1 extra point if he scores, and he will get an extra clean sheet point as well. If you take a look at his opponent this game week, Ipswich, they have been terrible, only beaten by Leicester, and of course this is Chris Wood's opponent. But if you take a look at Ipswich stats, they have 0 clean sheets, 11 goals conceded, 15 big chances, 23 shots on target, and 8.22 expected goals conceded in the last 4 games. So manage Tapa, sell Munoz and get Diaz. Things that Watkins and Chris Wood, they are actually not in my team at the moment. It's Marmouche in there as well, so I don't have an available spot for a new Man City player. Okay, I can do this, make those moves in a couple of minutes and put my original team back. So this is my team at the moment. I have Areola in goal. Will probably play him instead of Raya. Saliba is on my bench as well, so I'm playing Guardiola, Williams and Munoz. The thing is that the picture doesn't look that good on paper for Munoz, but they are playing against a Spurs team that probably will be rotated this game week as well. Kevin De Bruyne in midfield with SA, Mbumo captain, and Jared Bowen against Man United. The thing with Crystal Palace is that I think that we can potentially see some rotation for them as well. We know that they will play the FA Cup final on the 17th of May. One of the biggest games for Crystal Palace in recent history. So this is one of the reasons why I'm really close to sell Mateta. Chris Wood is probably the player I'm leaning towards. And if we get early team news, I will probably take a -4 to sell Marmouche and bring in Watkins. The reason why I like Watkins is that Aston Villa, they play not the best fixture, playing away against Bournemouth in game week 36, but they play against Spurs at home right before the Europa League final, and they play against Man United in game week 38 right after the Europa League final. So I think that Aston Villa potentially can take advantage of playing against the two teams in the final. Why Watkins over Visa and Cunha? It can be them as well, of course. Cunha is really tempting. Visa could be a really good option as well, but the thing is that I already have Mbumo, and Visa, he is not on penalties. So with only 2 game weeks left, I think that there could be an upside in bringing in players with penalties. So both Wissa and Cunha, definitely really good options. Thing is that especially Wissa, he is currently being transferred in by a lot of active managers. Watkins, his ownership is quite high, but I think that there are a lot of dead teams with Watkins. I think that Watkins, he can't really remember, but I think he was at least top 5 most owned players ahead of game week 1 this season. So I think a lot of dead teams have Watkins. That actually among the active managers, Watkins is a big differential. But of course, we know that Brentford and Wissa and Cunha and Wolves have really good fixtures as well. So hopefully I can just keep Marmoush. Hopefully he starts against Southampton in game week 36. I will definitely not sell Marmoush unless we get confirmed leaks about he starting on the bench. What is your current rank? My current rank is actually really bad. It's like close to 700k. My worst season so far. Start Sessegnon or Munoz, Nelson Semedo. Let's take a look. Probably go Sessegnon, to be honest, because of the fixtures. Fulham, they are on the bookies' favorite lists for clean sheets in game week 36 as well. The home fixture against Everton, they are given 41% chance of a clean sheet. So probably Sessegnon. Would you change anything in your forward line? Alexander Isak, Cunha, Evan Nilsson. I just started the stream talking about that there are so many good options up front at the moment. So if I had a wild card, I would not have Alexander Isak, Mateta, or Marmoush. Would probably be 3 different forwards, to be honest, but I'm not that tempted on taking a hit. Will it take some risks to get higher rank before the season ends? So recently I actually have had a decent climb. I have taken some risks out, gone without Mo Salah. I haven't really kept Mo Salah that much this season because the start of the season was terrible. I started with Mo Salah and no Haaland, and I changed to Haaland from Salah when Haaland, he actually suddenly stopped scoring. So I was ranked at 5 million around game week 10. So I started taking some risks, and some of them paid off, some of them didn't. So that's the reason why my rank is poor at the moment. But will you take some risks? The thing is that with 2 game weeks left, I'm not sure what kinds of risks I can take, but I'm really tempted, and this is one of the reasons why I haven't done the Chris Wood move already because of his ownership. But FPL FOMO, he mentioned that Chris Wood, he's probably owned by a lot of dead teams. His ownership is close to 30%. So that's not the profile of a player that I want to bring in. I really like to take risks, but of course selling Alexander Isak with really, really high ownership could potentially be decent. I actually looked at something like selling Alexander Isak to Haaland and Mateta to a cheap striker. This would mean taking a hit. So potentially I can save a transfer, hope that Mateta does well, hope that Marmoush starts, and do a double transfer with Alexander Isak and Mateta out to bring in Haaland. Maybe Cunha is your best differential, Cunha. Yeah, potentially let's check his ownership. We know that he will start on penalties. Decent home fixture against Brighton in gameweek 36. Play against Crystal Palace only 3 days after the FA Cup final, so this could potentially be a really good fixture for Wolves. And then they have Brentford at home, and this season Brentford, they actually haven't been that great playing away. So of course Cunha 15% owned, 14.4. As mentioned, if I had a wildcard available, I would potentially sell all of my forwards to bring in the likes of Chris Wood. Would probably be Wissa and Cunha. At the same time, I'm also a bit tempted by the lap 3.1. Decent fixtures for Ipswich, but of course not the best team. I think that the lap will probably move to another Premier League team, so he's like playing for, I know that they will get relegated, but he will probably be motivated to do well in the run into to get a decent contract next season as well. Yeah, that's the worry with the lap. Hasn't really played 90 minutes that much this season. But if he gets a couple of chances, he has proved earlier that he is a decent finisher. So let's have a quick look at the lap. So in game week 35, he played 67 minutes. He's had some problems with injuries as well, so I think that's probably why his minutes have been that limited, to be honest, because in game week 33 against Arsenal, he only played 8 minutes, against Chelsea 19 minutes. But the fixture is really tempting in game week 37. Actually, that Leicester fixture looks really good and potentially a lot of goals in this fixture. The wildest differential you could get is Richarlison. Haven't really considered Richarlison, to be honest, but he will probably start in the Premier League and they will potentially play Solanke in the Europa League final. So you're probably right, but I can't really see Spurs having a good end and a good run in this year. Game week 36 against Palace, game week 37 against Aston Villa and Brighton in game week 38. So I don't really like having my defenders play against my forwards, so I will probably play Munoz this game week, so can't really see myself bringing Richarlison, to be honest. But thanks for the suggestion. I think that there are better alternatives, but of course it's a wild differential. I will probably just end up selling Mateta to bring in Chris Wood. Sell Chris Wood next week. Probably to Watkins, as mentioned. And probably in game week 37 and 38, I will try to find a really, really big differential. Maybe someone from Everton. They have a really good fixture against Southampton in game week 37. Jamie Vardy in game week 37 playing at home against Ipswich. So I have 2.6 in the bank, so I can get most forwards in the game at the moment. Of course, not Haaland, but I have a lot of options. So we talk about differentials and taking risks. I think that I actually have taken some risks recently. I got De Bruyne in quite early. Jared Bowen as well. Captain Jared Bowen last game week. Went SA, where most managers went for Sar. So Haaland, Wood, Alexander Isak, the bookies favorites for anytime goal scorer in game week 36. When we take a look at clean sheets, Nottingham Forest, they are actually the bookies favorites against Leicester, 51%, Man City second, and Fulham against Everton with 41%. The most transferred in players this game week is Kevin De Bruyne. Decent fixture, and Vissa and Mbumo the famous Brentford double up with 300k new owners each. The most sold players, Saka, Mateta and Salah. I will probably sell Mateta. Chris Wood will probably be my replacement. I think that the captaincy will stay on Mbumo. I've had it on Mbumo all week. I really talked Mbumo up in my team selection video this game week, so I think that at this point it would be really annoying if I changed my captaincy from Mbumo if he did well. So captaincy will probably stay on Mbumo, so my plan at this stage is to sell Mateta, bring in Chris Wood. I will wait for early team news. I will have a deadline stream tomorrow as well to monitor the situation and check over at X and some Man City forums as well to try to find some early team news from Man City. But if Marmoush is benched, I will probably make a move. Not yet decided. There are a lot of options available, but Watkins, Visa, Cunha are the front runners at the moment. So I will fill the team on the screen, but I will probably make a couple of transfers up front. So Mateta, he is the first to leave. Seen limited minutes recently, lost penalties to SA, and we know that Crystal Palace have really important game in the FA Cup on the 17th of May. The FA Cup final, so he will probably be sold ahead of the deadline to bring in Chris Wood. If Marmoush starts, I will definitely start him for their good fixture against Southampton. So it's not like if Haaland starts, Marmoush is definitely benched, and it's not like if Haaland is on the bench, Marmoush is the player that will be subbed off when Haaland gets on the pitch. It's like before the Haaland injury, they both started with Haaland as their number 9 and Marmoush a bit to the left, so they can definitely play and be on the pitch at the same time. But obviously, if Marmoush starts on the bench, that's not ideal. Another thing that I actually considered and talked about in my team selection video is going for a big captain differential. SA would probably be my preferred option, but as mentioned, I will probably go Mbumo, even though he's the safe option. So I'm not like trying to be different for the sake of being different. If I believe that the chances and the potential for the other players are much higher than the differential, I'm not going differential just for the sake of it. But if I think the chances are pretty even, then I will always try to go for the differential, especially in a position where I'm not satisfied with my rank. Then in most of those situations I would go for the differential. But let's have a quick look at Spurs. Crystal Palace opponent in game week 36. They have kept 0 clean sheets, conceded 12 goals, only 9 big chances, 16 shots on target, and 6.25 expected goals conceded. So actually, it's not like Spurs are runovers. Only 16 shots on target, 9 big chances. They've been a bit unlucky, to be honest, when we take a look at their expected goals conceded and big chances compared to their actual goals conceded. But at the same time, I think that the fact that Spurs played a game yesterday and they will play in an extra game this season compared to others. A really, really important game. But the reason why I'll probably not go for SA is that extra game I just mentioned for Spurs, this actually goes for Crystal Palace as well because of the FA Cup final on the 17th. So I think that if Crystal Palace, if they didn't have that final, I think that I would probably go SA captain, but he could potentially see limited minutes in game week 36 as well because of their FA Cup final fixture. So I like targeting players that will play against Spurs, but it will probably be Mbumo for me in game week 36. So this is my team at the moment. Areola is starting. I have Raya on my bench, Saliba as well. So my double Arsenal defense is benched for game week 36. So this will probably be the game week where Arsenal defense does well. Munoz playing against Spurs. I have SA against Spurs. At the moment, I have Mateta as well, but he will probably be sold ahead of the deadline. Nico Williams and Guardiola are my 2 last players in defense. I really like Williams' potential this game week. Hopefully, he can deliver attacking returns and a clean sheet, and the same goes for Guardiola. There is a potential that he would start left back again and be a bit more attacking than we've seen since January. Kevin De Bruyne is in. Hopefully he will start, and the same goes for Marmouche. Mbumo will probably be my captain. Hopefully Man United will keep on rotating their team, so Jared Bowen can potentially do really well against them, even though the game is on Old Trafford. Up front, Alexander Isak. Not a big fan of Alexander Isak, to be honest, this game week, but I think that Mateta is the player to sell because of the risk that he can potentially see limited minutes due to the FA Cup final. So I talked about it a couple of times so far tonight that if I was on a wildcard, I would probably have 3 different forwards. I like Cunha, I like Wissa, I like Chris Wood. So not really satisfied with my forwards, but I only have 1 free transfer. Not tempted to take hits. Mateta out, Chris Wood in is probably what I'm going to do. Another option is to just save the transfer and sell both Alexander Isak and Mateta next game week to bring in Haaland. Let's have a quick look at the price changes. Wissa will be close to going up in price. Same goes for Mbumo. Luis Diaz will go down. Saliba as well. That doesn't really bother me that much, but let's have a look at Mateta. Mateta minus 48 already went down. I don't think Mateta will drop tonight, but potentially tomorrow, while Chris Wood is on 42. So of course there is a potential for Chris Wood to rise again tonight, but I think that he probably will stay 7.1 tonight, to be honest, and that we will see his price go up Saturday night. So I will probably just wait and do the transfer closer to the deadline. As mentioned, I will set up a deadline stream tomorrow, monitor the potential for a leaked lineup from Man City. The thing is with those leaked lineups is that we've actually had a couple of leaks this season that turned out to be false, even from those well-known accounts like FPL Tony posting City starting 11, but it turned out to be actually misinformation. I have 4.7 in the bank, which isn't good planning as I can't spend it on useful transfers. The thing is that 4.7 in the bank, I know the feeling. It feels like your team potentially can be a lot better, so it feels like a waste having that much in the bank. But I think at this point, only 3 game weeks left, I wouldn't really care that much about how much you have in the bank. Price rises, your players dropping in price, or transfer targets rising. I wouldn't really stress that much about it. Just make moves that make sense and go for the points. Another option, of course, FPL FOMO, seeing that you will roll your transfer this game week, is that you probably have the option to roll this game week and do a double transfer to bring in Holland next game week. I'm actually considering it myself to sell Alexander Isak. Let's have a quick look if it's possible. Sell Alexander Isak in with Holland, and this I can't afford that one. My budget, it's actually possible 4.6, so I cannot bring in someone useful, but I can potentially make this move next game week, but it means that I would have to start Sheriff. Of Of course, Marmouche would be the one that. Let's go 4.4. Do we have any 4.4 forward? So this is actually an option for me. He will definitely be on the bench, but a front seven with Rodgers, Mbumo, Esse, De Bruyne, Jared Bowen, Mateta. I'd still have Mateta though. I don't really like that, but it would give me Erling Haaland. So potentially, you probably have with. I could get Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne for a minus for this week. So which players do you have to sell to bring in Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne? I actually like the idea of targeting the Southampton fixture. Man City, they have looked sharper recently as well. So it's probably a good idea. I don't like taking hits this late. Marmouche to Haaland, Salah. If we get news that Haaland starts, that will be really, really tempting, to be honest. Marmouche to Haaland, Salah to De Bruyne. So join in on the deadline stream tomorrow. I'll do my best to find early team news. Marmouche, if he's on the bench and if Haaland starts, I would definitely do those moves. I have thought about it a lot this week. Still might do it, yeah. I really like those moves. We potentially have early team news. I'm actually kind of sure that Kevin De Bruyne will start. I don't really see any good reasoning for benching Kevin De Bruyne this game week. So hopefully he will start. The only thing is that if Haaland is back, Marmouche can potentially be benched. So if both Kevin De Bruyne and Haaland is in the starting 11 and Marmouche is benched, you should definitely take the -4. Hopefully we find out more than 10 minutes before the deadline. So historically, when we get those early team news, it's really close to deadline. So I think we're lucky if we get that much information 10 minutes before the deadline. I think that 10 minutes is probably what we can hope for, but I need some thinking time. Yeah, me as well. If I sell Mateta to Chris Wood, I can't do the Haaland plan. Of course, I could for a hit, but so Mateta to Chris Wood this game week, and then Alexander Isak and Marmoush to Haaland and a 4.5 forward in game week 37. That's an option. I will make a decision tomorrow. Of course, it will be a bit annoying if Chris Wood goes up and Mateta drops in price, but I don't really care that much about value. It's all about points at this stage. Only 3 game weeks left, but either way, I can afford my transfer this game week. Mateta to Chris Wood. Mateta 7.4 selling value for me, and Chris Wood is valued at 7.1. So let's have a quick look. I don't really like Alexander Isak as well. Chelsea, I think they look decent recently. Tough game against Arsenal in game week 37, and Everton. And Everton, they have been strong defensively. So my plan at the moment is to sell Mateta to bring in Christopher Wood. 3.1 game week 37, take a hit, bring in Haaland, and this will give me, yeah, I will comfortably make, I will have enough funds for this in game week 37. 4.9. I'm actually close to being able to bring in Jamie Ward as well. I can take a punt on, let's say, Beto. 0.1. And this will give me Haaland against Bournemouth at home and Fulham away. Hi man, what's your thoughts on Wissa versus Cunha versus Wood? I think it kind of depends on your rank. I really like Chris Wood and Nottingham Forest fixture. I'm close to selling Mateta to bring in Chris Wood. I really like Wissa as well, but I already have Mbumo. If I didn't have Mbumo, Wissa would be my favorite, but I think Cunha is a decent and a really good option. The thing is that I just like Chris Wood and Nottingham Forest's fixture at home against Leicester better. So Chris Wood is my favorite for game week 36. And will probably be my transfer this game week. Someone in the chat dared me to captain Chris Wood, but it's not like I think Chris Wood is a bad captain option. So if I bring in Chris Wood, I will potentially just go Mbumo. He will probably be my captain for game week 36, but Mateta to Chris Wood will likely happen, but Mbumo will still be my captain. Cool, thanks. Yeah, I brought in Wood too. I'm behind on my min leagues. Who has Visa? Do we have to go Wood then? Right. Yeah, definitely. If you're behind in your min league and if this is your biggest goal for the rest of the season, if you have this one min league that you really want to win, then you just have to pick other players than the players ahead of you in this mentioned min league. This is the only way to go ahead of them. So try to avoid hits, try to pick different players than the teams ahead of you. And of course, depends on how many points you're behind, but I think that captaining a player that the other team doesn't have, of course, obviously is potentially really powerful. So bring in Chris Wood and then potentially captain him, avoid Visa, just hope that Visa stays quiet in game week 36. It's like we can't have them all, right? So there are so many good forwards at the moment, so we can't have them all. And definitely if you're chasing in your min league, try to be different. Thanks, man. I probably take too many hits. I did a -8 last week. Luckily it paid off, and this week again a -8. So you brought in Wood. Which other players have you brought in this game week? A -8, that's at least 3 transfers, right? I'm really tempted to change all of my forwards as well, but if Marmoush starts, I think that he potentially can be a really good player in game week 36. So I will wait for the potential for some early Man City news tomorrow before doing something with Marmoush. I don't really like Alexander Isak, but I'm more worried about Mateta than Alexander Isak at the moment. So Alexander Isak will probably be in my team. The last time I sold Alexander Isak, I don't really remember, was like game week 12, game week 13. He was yellow flagged. Newcastle, they had some tough fixtures coming up. I sold Alexander Isak, but he absolutely smashed it in those game weeks. Did well against Arsenal, did well against Liverpool as well. So on paper, I sold Alexander Isak at the right moment, but turned out to be wrong. Did Chris Wood? So you actually done the transfer I'm considering. Mateta out, Chris Wood in, Alexander Isak out for Cunha, Elanga. Yeah, I agree with Isak. Not a fan of him. Thing is that he scored a penalty, picked up some points, but he hasn't really looked that great recently. 9 points last game week. But in game week 34, £6 blank in game week 33, and the famous game week 32. I actually triple captain Alexander Isak for his 11 points in game week 32. It was kind of disappointing, to be honest, even though 11 points tripled 33. It's decent, but with the fixtures that Newcastle had and the amount of goals they scored, They scored 9 goals in game week 32, and Alexander Isak only got 1 goal and 1 assist. So, not really convinced by Alexander Isak, to be honest, but I don't have enough free transfers at the moment to change it. So I will just hope that Newcastle and Alexander Isak can do well against Chelsea. So Chelsea, they have actually looked a bit better recently, but it's not like they are that great. Yeah, I think even though they only have one tournament, a lot of players are tired from the long season, in my opinion. Yeah, same with Mo Salah, Chris Wood, Saka, Palmer. Yeah, especially Palmer. I think that last couple of months, you can just see that he has been really tired. He played when he was carrying an injury as well, and I think that this has really made the run in really tough for Palmer. Saka came back from injury as well. Chris Wood, can't really remember the last season Chris Wood played this many minutes, maybe from the early Burnley days, but I think you're right about Mo Salah as well. Hasn't really looked that sharp recently, so so it's not a big loss to have Alexander Isak, I hope. Yeah. I like Elanga as well. Hopefully this transfer can pay off, but at the moment I actually like the players in my midfield. Kevin De Bruyne, SA did well on penalties for Crystal Palace at the moment. Of course, Mbumo, really good fixture against Ipswich, will probably be my captain as well. And Jared Bowen playing against Man United, and we know that they potentially can play a bit weaker teams in the Premier League in the run-in, even though Amorim said that they will try to fight in the Premier League as well, but I think that their main priority at the moment is the Europa League. So Bowen has looked great, so he will start for me, and this means that Rodgers will be on my bench. So if I brought in Elanga, couldn't really see myself benching De Bruyne, SA, and Bumo or Jared Bowen. So my transfer this game week will definitely be up front, and Mateta out to bring in Chris Wood will likely be my transfer. Another reasoning for bringing in Chris Wood is that, yes, I know that his ownership is quite high, close to 30%, but FPL FOMO, he pointed out something really important about Chris Wood, and it's that a lot of his ownership is actually dead teams. We know that he did really well before Christmas, and the fact that his ownership was close to 40%. He got injured, but his ownership didn't really go that much down. So I think that there are a lot of dead teams with Chris Wood. Yeah, I like your midfield, similar to mine, but just SA for Elanga. But I think Spurs are too weak. Yeah. I like targeting the Spurs team as well. So I talked about this, selling Mateta to Chris Wood. In game week 37, sell Chris Wood to bring in Watkins. In game week 37, Aston Villa, they have a Friday night fixture against Spurs, so I really like the potential of bringing in and doubling up on the Aston Villa attack next game week. So another option for me is to sell Mateta to bring in Chris Wood and then take a hit in game week 37 and sell both Alexander Isak and Marmoush to bring in Holland. So I have a couple of options. Sandri, thanks for joining in. Hi, I did Alexander Isak and Murphy to Cunha at 4. Will captain Chris Wood. Thoughts? Really good transfers in my opinion. Talked about both Alexander Isak and I don't like Murphy at this stage. We know and we saw this in game week 35 as well. Anthony Gordon, really good player, England international. He will get minutes. Not sure if Gordon will start in game week 36, but he will definitely play at least 30 minutes, and Murphy could be the one with an early sub again. So selling Murphy makes sense. 5 minutes ago I talked about selling Alexander Isak as well. A couple of guys in the chat already talked about selling Alexander Isak, so makes sense. He has actually looked tired, not been that great recently. Got 9 points in game week 35, but didn't really do that much. Scored a penalty, but selling Alexander Isak and Murphy to Cunha and Elanga, I like both of those moves. Captaining Chris Wood, I definitely like Chris Wood, and he will potentially most probably be my transfer in this game week. So I really like Chris Wood as well. So yeah, decent moves, Sandri. I'm a Chelsea fan. That's why I sold them. So I'm actually a Man United fan, and sometimes I like to double down. So if let's say that you kept your Newcastle players, and if Chelsea lose, at least you can celebrate the FPL points. But Chelsea, they have looked better recently, even though Cole Palmer hasn't been that great. Got some points, of course, in game week 35, but I think that Cole Palmer has looked a bit tired as well. I think that he probably was pushed a bit much by Maresca when he was carrying an injury. This was around game week 30, but as a Chelsea fan, you probably know more about Cole Palmer's situation. I remember one of those game weeks where Cole Palmer, Chelsea, they had a late game. I had Cole Palmer as my captain, and he was rumored not to start. He actually started this game, played like 80 minutes, but didn't really do much. Let's see if I can find which game week this was. Points. Last time I captained Cole Palmer. We'll see game week 30. No, it must have been. I talked about game week 30. That was not correct. It was game week 27. So actually close to 10 game weeks ago. But I remember this game week, Chelsea, they played. I think it probably must have been another game week. Cole Palmer blank in game week 26. Blank in game week 25. 6 points. I mentioned game week 30, but it was actually game week 22 the last time. Chelsea, they were playing Monday fixture against Wolves in game week 22. I had Cole Palmer captain, but he was carrying a niggle. He was rumored. He was yellow flagged ahead of the game week 22 deadline, but there were some rumors that he would be benched or not even in the squad for game week 22, but actually started. But he actually did play terrible. Bryce, thanks for joining in. Greetings. Hope all's good and hope that you're ready for the next game week. I just been looking at some earlier game week results to find that game week where Cole Palmer had a Monday night fixture and was yellow flagged, rumored not to be in the squad. I had him as my captain, was so satisfied when I saw Cole Palmer start. I think that he actually had a couple of big chances, but he blanked in game week 22. So this is one of the game weeks that I think that I've been a bit unlucky this season. So went for a captain punt like I did in game week, was like game week 3 with some missed some big chances, and this could be crucial considering the rank. Also, another question, your prediction on PSG versus Inter. My cousin Peraldo is Milan fan. He really hates Inter. I think PSG will take this one. I think that they have been really good this season. So I haven't really watched that much Italian football in this Serie A, to be honest, this season. But I think that PSG, and they are the bookies' favorites as well, so it makes sense. Is it, Bryce? Is it worth to bring in De Bruyne and Visa for a -4? Would be selling Rashford and Mateta. Definitely, I would consider those moves. Rashford, we know that he is injured. Mateta will probably be my transfer out this game week as well. I'm really close to pull the trigger on Mateta to Chris Wood. So, yeah, De Bruyne and Visa for Mateta and Rashford for -4. Yeah, that's a yes for me. Charlie, thanks for joining in, Charlie. Or simply just sell Mo Salah for KDB, avoid the hit, and hope Mateta scores big against Spurs. Yeah. This is my worry as well with Mateta, but I think that there are some good arguments for selling Mateta. He has been subbed off early recently. He will potentially be rested for the FA Cup final. We know that SA is on penalties at the moment, so I'm really close to do Mateta to Chris Wood. I know that Chris Wood is not a big differential, close to 30% ownership, so ideally I would want a player with lower ownership, but I really like the fixture for Nottingham Forest, so Mateta to Wood will likely be my transfer, to be honest. Sandri, appreciate your answer. Thanks. No worries, Sandri. And hopefully for you, Chelsea will win against Newcastle. 4-2 to Chelsea with Alexander Isak brace. That would be perfect. Spurs will have a weak side this game week. No, I think so. I do think that Spurs will prioritize the game against Man United in the Europa League final. So I don't think that they will risk their players. And we saw this in game week 35 as well, resting a lot of first team players. So normally I would not consider selling Mateta playing against Spurs, but the thing is that I can potentially see that Glasner will rest Mateta as well, because Spurs and Man United, they are not the only teams that will play in a final. So we know on the 17th of May, Crystal Palace will play probably their most important fixture in recent history, when they played the FA Cup final against Man City. So there is a risk that the Crystal Palace boys can be rested as well. Lastly, what time do you think we'll know if De Bruyne and Marmoush will get the nod? So historically, when you take a look at the timing for the leaks, it's some game weeks we get like this drop feeding that maybe 30 minutes before the deadline, the big accounts like FPL Tony, they can like post Marmoush with a thumbs up, something like that, but they don't really post the starting 11, but they drip feed their owners, their followers. But I don't think that we'll get the starting 11 before really close to the deadline, so like maximum 10 minutes, but we might get some early leaks, 30 minutes. So hopefully we'll get like something like a Belgian flag with a green arrow behind it, something like that. But it's really hard to tell, and I talked about this before, because we have actually seen some of the biggest Man City accounts post wrong early team news, especially 2 times at the end of last season. FPL Main Road, I think he has something like 150k followers on X, something like that. He posted the starting 11. It turned out to be a couple of mistakes in it. So I don't think that he posted the wrong starting 11 to mislead his followers, but it's not like Pep calls him to tell which 11 players he'll be starting. So in those early leaks and early lineups, there might be some mistakes as well. Surely Mateta starts over Eddie Nketiah. Yeah, I think that Mateta will start. I think that is that much better than Nketiah. So we thought after his injury he was straight into the team, and Glasner said that he will start Mateta. And even though Mateta played really poor in game week, was it like 31 the first game week after the injury? Even though he played really poor, Glasner said that he will start next game week, and this happened in game week 31 as well. Glasner still said that, yeah, he will start. He starts number 9, but as we saw last game week, he might get an early substitution, so he might just play around 60 minutes, and Nketiah could get 30. So I think that this game week I haven't really thought about my. Recently, I haven't used this much time considering my transfers. Really torn on what to do. I have some options. I can just do Mateta to Chris Wood, use my free transfer, target Leicester, really good fixture for Nottingham Forest. all I keep thinking about is last year, this time Mateta went on an insane run in the last 4 or 5 game weeks. Yeah. I remember this as well. This actually gave him a spot in the France Olympics squad as well. Sandri maybe, but I think 2-0, yeah. This means an Alexander Isak blank. So you actually think that Chelsea will keep a clean sheet? Haven't looked up Chelsea's clean sheet odds. The bookies' favorites for clean sheets this game week is Nottingham Forest for their, as mentioned, really good fixture at home against Leicester. Man City, they are second, and Fulham are actually third with 41% expected clean sheets. Mohamed Al-Abadi, Mateta and Marmoush to Vissa and Haaland, -4. If we get the news that Haaland will play, yeah, I would definitely consider those moves if you have the money in the bank available, of course. Mateta, Marmoush, Vissa, Haaland, yeah. You need to have some millions in the bank to afford those moves, but I think it will pay off. Sandri, Clifford, or Bowen to play. Definitely Jared Bowen for me. He has looked really, really good recently. I know Fulkrug started, but I don't really think that Bowen on the right is that much worse. Of course, playing out of position, classified as a midfielder, and playing as West Ham's number 9, that's decent, but I think that Jared Bowen potentially can do pretty well from right wing as well. So for me, Jared Bowen definitely is a starter for game week 36. The thing is that Man United, they are also one of the teams that still compete in Europe, so they will play the Europa League final against Spurs. So Man United potentially can play a weaker team in game week 36. Mateta and Marmoush to Vissa and Haaland. That sounds really good. Yeah, I get it, but Clifford has also penalties. Yeah, but at the same time, I actually read that Paqueta probably will miss out in game week 36, so Jared Bowen can potentially be on penalties as well. Let's have a quick look if there are any news about Paqueta. I haven't really. I just read that something was up with Pakita after searching for Pakita news over at X. I get a lot of things from his wife's Instagram, stuff like that. It says that for the last 2 years they have been living in a nightmare. Defend him. God knows everything, and only He knows why we're going through this. And only because of Him are we well and living happily as a family. I just wish people would respect Him. People are mean and unfair without knowing anything. Hmm. So let me know if you have any concrete news about Pakita. I just read some rumors that he will not be involved in game week 36. The thing is that I'm not really sure why he will not play. Thanks. What's your highest FPL rank, mate? Mine is 190k. That's decent. It's better than my rank at the moment. But the best rank is actually 157 in the world. And that's actually not 157k, but 157. Let's have a look. Can't even remember where to. So these are my ranks. It will be really, really bad to add a 700k rank to this list. But yeah. Wow, that's fantastic. 157. Yeah, really good season. 157. I was inside the top 100. I actually had a really bad start that season. Used my wildcard in, I think it was game week 3 that season. So I spent that much time picking my 15 players for game week 1, but I think in game week 1 and game week 2 most of the players blanked, so I had like 25 to 30 points game weeks in game week 1 and game week 2, but wildcarded in game week 3 and obviously absolutely smashed it for the rest of the season. So I actually started doing those kind of Q&A streams and occasionally deadline streams this season. So my first season with putting out videos and doing live streams. So it's a bit annoying that the season where I start putting out FPL content is the season where my luck suddenly turns and I'm having my worst season. So yeah, bit annoying, but I really enjoy discussing FPL and making the videos. So that's what matters the most at the moment. And I haven't really made one single video in my life before putting out my first FPL team selection video. So it's like I had to Google and watch other YouTube movies to learn how to edit, which software I had to download, had to buy a camera, microphone, all of this stuff. Pakistan may not play anymore this season because of ban. What kind of ban do we talk about? Pakistan latest. Let's have a new search. The most recent news on Pakistan. Is it Portuguese? I can't be bothered to copy and paste it into Google Translate. So it's like betting, something like that. I know he picked up a yellow card, but it's not like that card will prevent him from playing. Why do I only get Portuguese and French news when I search for Pakistan? Maybe I'll just try. Good old Google. Pakistan pan. Lucas Paqueta warned only 2 possible outcomes in spot fixing case as West Ham star told suspension ruled out. Paqueta has been told he will either be banned or acquitted when the verdict on his spot fixing trial is finally announced next month. And this was posted May 6th, 3 days ago. So yeah, what's happened? The Brazilian star has been charged by the Football Association over allegedly breaching betting rules. Yeah, same as we've seen before. I think Paqueta has been involved in those kind of things before as well. Thanks for pointing it out, Sandri. Made it really a lot easier for me to just Google it and find the information I wanted. So thank you. So to be honest, I like Paqueta as a player, probably a really nice guy as well, but for to be a bit cynical, and when we consider FPL, I actually think and hope that Paqueta will not play, especially for game week 36, but hopefully he will be back soon. But while Jared Bowen is in my team, I always fancy Paqueta not to play, because we know Paqueta is on penalties and Jared Bowen is probably next in line. Paqueta needs to give evidence at hearing soon. Probably a good idea not to play while this is going on. Yeah. So this is what I read earlier this week, but the article or the tweet, not really sure how I found this information, but it didn't really say why Paqueta would not play, just that he was rumored to be out. So that probably is correct after taking a quick look at a couple of articles a couple of minutes ago. It looks like he will be out, even though he's not actually banned, but he will potentially not play. I think this is really good for Jared Bowen, to be honest. As mentioned, he's probably next in line when it comes to West Ham and penalties. So back to my team transfers. Mateta to Chris Wood. Actually, kind of tempted to just pull the trigger, to be honest. Mateta out, Chris Wood in. Fixture can't be much better. Chris Wood, he is actually number 2 on the bookies predicted anytime goal scorer list. Haaland, he is normally, when he's fit, on top of those lists, and this is the case for gameweek 36 as well. For Man City's game against Southampton, Erling Haaland is the bookies' favorite for anytime goal scorer. 61% for Haaland, 52% for Chris Wood, and 45% for Alexander Isak. So Sandri, he was hoping for a Chelsea clean sheet. He predicted a 2-0, but the bookies, they don't necessarily agree. They think that Alexander Isak is one of the favorites for anytime goal scorers. So I don't really like Alexander Isak, to be honest, this game week, but he will probably be in my team. So let me know in the comments, do you think I just should pull the trigger tonight? I checked the price change sites. It's a no-brainer. Do it, and Captain Wood. So it's done, the transfer is done. I'm not changing the captaincy yet. I might be convinced by Chris Wood, but I haven't really As mentioned earlier, I haven't really thought about captaining Chris Wood. He hasn't been in my team. I have been set on Mbumo for a week. You can put up the stats again real quick. This is Brentford's opponent in gameweek 36, Ipswich. Really bad defensive stats. FPL FOMO, I'd sell Mateta for sure if I had him. Yeah, I agree, it makes sense to just get rid of Mateta. Not on penalties. We know SA probably will take the next for Crystal Palace as well after scoring the last one. And he has actually been subbed off early recently, and Ketja is fit and will probably came on after 60 minutes, something like that. He might even start. So Mateta, he is actually not in my team anymore. So this is my team. Up front, Marmoush, Chris Wood, Alexander Isak. No free transfers left. Captaincy currently on Mbumo. I really like this team, to be honest. Hopefully a new green arrow. That's much needed. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. I will have a deadline stream tomorrow as well, so if you're interested, join that one as well. Start Elanga or Saka. Ooh. I think at this stage, if you're considering to bench Saka, I would probably sell him, to be honest. Saka to Kevin De Bruyne. But if you have Elanga, I think that he definitely should start. Picture can't be much better, so it makes sense as well to play Elanga over Saka, but I don't think that Saka is a good option for game week 36. So at the moment, I'm actually benching both of my Arsenal players, Raya on the bench together with Saliba. I know it feels kind of wrong to bench a 10 million plus player, but yeah, I would start Elanga. I forgot to ask, which is your favorite team? My guess is Man United. Yeah, like Man United and like my rank this season, it's not the best year. So yeah, Man United, my favorite team, but it's not like when I was like 10, 11, 12, I was a really big Man United fan, but it's not like when Man United lose, my week is ruined. But I watch older games. I've been to Old Trafford 8 times. Actually went when they beat Arsenal. Was it 8-1, something like that? It's probably 8-9 years ago now, though. So Man United is my favorite team, but it's not like I can't play any, can't have any FPL assets playing against Man United. So that's not a problem for me. Actually, look at it like doubling down. So if Man United lose against West Ham, I will be a bit disappointed, of course, but I will be glad for the Jared Bowen points. So subscribe to the channel, join in tomorrow on the deadline stream. Thanks for joining. I will be live a couple of hours before the deadline tomorrow. I will monitor the situation when considering the Man City lineup. We will maybe get early team news, but nothing, of course, is certain. But have a a nice evening, and if you don't join in tomorrow, best of luck for Game Week 36 and have a nice weekend. Once again, subscribe to the channel and thanks for joining in.